Hi everyone, this is the demo section of the video. So now we'll start with the Tableau desktop and load our data on the file. If you see your screen, you will have a panel that we discussed in the first video. So we'll click on the text file, add the two CSVs that we have right now. So I'll click on BA_reviews, and you can see both the CSVs are there in my Tableau desktop, Tableau public. BA_reviews has been dragged. I'll add countries.csv to my data source panel, and it shows me an error, an alert to be precise. It tells me that I have to define a relationship between the two CSVs. Now, what is a relationship? How is it different from a join? I'll highly encourage you guys to go online on the Tableau website, click on learn more, and then find what it shows. Everything that you do on Tableau, you should be aware about it. And relationships versus joins is a very basic concept that you guys should know how it's performing. For now, I'll just give you a brief context. Relationship is an automatic way that Tableau determines what kind of a join it needs to apply between the two files, right? So with that brief context, I know, as I've seen the data in first-hand perspective, that the place column in BA reviews is equivalent to the country column in countries.csv. So once I define the relationship, you can see the alert or the error between the two data sets, it has vanished. So we won't be covering extract filter because extract filter is only possible in Tableau desktop version, which is a paid version. In Tableau public version, we don't really need to use the extract filter since we only add CSV files in our data source. The moment we add it in the data source filter is the first thing we need to know about. So to do the data source filter, go on the top right of your screen, you will see a panel called filters, and it will have a hyperlink word called add. If you click on that add, you'll see another option to add filter based on all the columns that you have loaded in your data set. Since we loaded these two CSV files, we'll have a combination of all the columns of these two CSV files because we just added a relationship between the two. So I would like to filter for region because my business case is only for North America, right? So I'll just scroll down, I'll filter North America, and I'm only interested in the rows for North America. And if you see on the bottom right visualization or in the bottom right filter panel, you'll see that now the continent is North America and all the countries available in that region have been filtered out. So this is the data source filter. We loaded the data source, we added a filter, and the data source got optimized. So now if the rows were, let's say, 2 million and North American rows are only, let's say, 300,000, you have optimized the performance of your workbook. This is a great achievement if you know how to use a data source filter. Now, we don't want to see the insights only for a North American region. So as of now, I'll remove the data source filter. How to remove it? Again, go to the top right. Now that add button will be an edit button. Click on that edit. On your screen, you will see that region filter keeps North America. I'll click on that and I'll click on remove. And then I'll press on OK. And if you see on the bottom right grid, now all the regions are available, not just North America, right? So data source, we have covered. Now we move ahead. Third performance filter was called the context filter. So for the context filter, I'll move to sheet 1. Here, I'll add ratings. So let's see what are the average ratings. So I drag the rating on the columns. I change the sum to an average. And then I add, let's say, aircrafts. I want to see all the aircrafts that I have in my data set sorted in a descending order. I click on label to show mark labels, and I see all of the mark labels for aircraft average rating in a descending order. So now I want to look for traveler type. I want to see the business travelers, right? So I see that in business, these are the aircrafts used. These are the descending order of ratings provided to these aircrafts. Let's add a top 15 filter to an aircraft. So I click on the rows panel on the top on the blue pill. I go to the top, select by field, and I do a top 15. So when I click on the top 15 and I click OK, I get the top 15 rows, right? Now, Are these top 15 rows correct? That is what we need to find out right now, because we didn't set a context right now in this visualization. Now, what is a context? This is a very important concept here. Just by the term context, it's very important to understand that whenever you talk with someone, you give someone a context about something and then they take steps on it, right? Similarly, if I just apply a filter on aircraft dimension without giving it a context, it might not work the way it should. We cannot assume that aircraft dimension knows what we do, right? So we need to set a context that we only want business traveler type. To do that, what you can do, you can click on traveler type business, click add to context. And now if you see, your order and the numbers have changed. So your visualization, how is it working? Step number one. First, the filter is happening at a traveler type level. Traveler type, only business rows are being filtered. So if your rows are 100, business rows are 25, only 25 rows are being filtered. After those 25 rows are being filtered, then aircraft dimension filter adds, okay, out of those 25 rows, what are my top 15? This is how the dimension filter knows what is the context and how the dimension filter can proceed filtering on it. Hence the reason of the name, context filter. So this is very important concept. You should play around with it. And believe me, if you don't set a context, you will not get the same answer that you're getting right now. So this was context filter. Moving on, we are done with performance filters. Now we'll go to interactivity filters. Interactivity filters are dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters. In the context filter visualization itself, when I added a filter for aircraft, if you notice, aircraft is a dimension, it's a category. That filter itself is called a dimension filter. To give you a clarity, I'll do it again. Let's say I add ratings to the columns. So I'll drag and drop ratings to the columns. I'll convert it into an average. I'll add aircrafts to rows. I'll sort it in a descending order. I'll add labels. Now, I need to add a dimension filter. I click on the rows aircraft, which is a dimension. I click on filter. I go to the top panel. I click on by field and I do a top 15. I run an OK and I have top 15 aircraft. If you notice, visualization hasn't changed. It's just removed all the bottom from the top 15. Only the top 15 aircraft are there in front of me, right? So this is an example of a dimension filter. Now, if you had to put a measure filter, how will you go about it? So let's new sheet, new filter. Okay, I'll add rating again. I'll add rating again to the columns. I'll change it to average. I'll add aircrafts again. I'll sort it and I'll add labels again. I hope now you are used to me adding labels, sorting it in a descending order, and showing you where the measures and dimensions go. It's a repetitive exercise and I'm doing it intentionally so that you know how to just, do the regular stuff when you open Tableau, right? So aircraft, average ratings sorted and labels are added. Now, measure filter. What among the above two is a measure? Is aircraft a measure? No, it's a dimension. We just covered that a dimension filter works on a categorical variable, right? So the only measure in this chart is ratings because it's a rating value. Now, if I click on that green pill, by the way, we call these pills on the top because they are pill shaped. That's the only reason we call it pills, right? So average rating, green pill, I click here, I do a filter. I want at least a rating of 7. And I click OK. And all the aircrafts which have an average rating of 7 are being retained in the visualization, else have been removed. Since you could not capture the difference on your screen, I'll change the cutoff to at least, let's say, 8. And then you'll see the bottom rows which had a rating of 7 collapse. This is a measure filter. You are reducing the aircrafts which could not achieve a certain score. This can be because a certain client asked you to do so, or because you just only want to show, let's say, ratings above 8 or ratings above 6, right? So this is specific to certain business case scenarios. Wherever you require a dimension filter, you can use a dimension filter. Wherever you require a measures filter, you can use a measures filter, right? So on interactivity filters, dimension filter done, measure filter done. Now we come to the last filter, and I promise this is the last one. It's called table calculation filter. I go to a new sheet. Again, same rating. I'll have it on the top. Average ratings, right? And I'll add, let's say, not aircraft this time. It's getting a bit boring. Let's add region, right? I want regions ratings. I'll sort it in a descending order and I'll show mark labels. So I have now regions. I mean, the visualization is not looking nice. There are blanks. There are some decimal values in it as well. But okay, let's keep the decimal values. We are not worried about that much. But I only am interested in the top 5. I don't want anything else. So there are 2 ways to do that, right? One, you can just apply a dimension filter, which we already did a while back. But here I'll show you a table calculation filter. So by that I mean we'll first have to create a calculated field. How to create a calculated field? Very good question. On the data panel on the left hand side, if you see, I go to the region pill, I click on the drop down, I'll go to an option called create. And the moment I go there, I get 4 more options: calculated field, group, set, parameter. In this case, I want to create a set because I want top 5. It's a set, right? So I go to create, I click on set, there's an option called top in there. I go by field. I want the top 5 regions based on their average ratings. I click on top 5, I click on OK, and a new region set has been created in the data panel. Now, I haven't dragged it yet. The moment I drag it to a filter panel, boom, you see the top 5 filtered on your detailed panel. This is how a table calculation filter works. You do the calculation outside of the detailed panel, then you drag and drop that onto the filter section and it filters as per your choice. So interactivity filters, dimensions, measures, and now table calculation filters. Done. In summary, now we have covered 6 types of filters. The performance filters were extract, data source, and context. And context filter is very, very, very important. Make sure that you revise it as much as you can because it might get asked around a lot, right? In interactivity filters, dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters happen at a worksheet level. So they are also important because the level of insights you'll withdraw will come from those filters. I hope you like this and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.